The boom of newly built ovals over the last 3 decades saw mostly 1.5-mile circuits being born. But 10 years ago, California saw fit to make sure the short track scene wasn't overlooked and brought us Kern Raceway. The West Coast run continues as we get ready to watch round 9 of the Misfit Touring Series, and you'll see it all live here on Podium Esports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Scott Shive. Behind the scenes is our director, DJ Lyon, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This is one of the newer additions to iRacing. As you can see, it has lots of beautiful stuff to look at. But before we look at, well, actually, I guess we're going to the track itself as we take a closer look at it. This is a unique one here, Scott, with, from what I understand, some elevation change, not common on ovals.
No, you wouldn't see it very often. You know, you'll see a dip into 3 as these drivers drive around, and it makes it kind of difficult in the entry, but different elevation changes. You know, you think of California, you think it's a bit flat, but then you think of those mountains out in the west. So this track is interesting, new to iRacing. A lot of racers have loved it, and these drivers out there, they have loved it. So it's going to create some interesting stuff today, Joe.
Looking forward. It's the first time I'm going to be calling a race at this track, so this is going to be fascinating to watch how it all plays out. As for the schedule, I mentioned we're on the West Coast swing. We started out with Irwindale. We're here at Kern County, and then we're going to get the Bull Ring and Phoenix Raceway before we are done with our visit out here to the West Coast. So still some action to be had out in the Golden State, and then obviously hopping over to Arizona. But let's also not forget about the car itself here, Scott. This has kind of become its own thing. It's another one that has been brought to iRacing somewhat recently from the real world, and the drivers, I think, have really taken to it, although it's tricky.
People have loved this car in the Cars Tour. The Cars Tour is a big up-and-coming series, and people wanted this car in iRacing the minute they got a taste of it. iRacing worked on it for a long time and continue to update this car. 500 brake horsepower, naturally aspirated V8, 4-speed H-pattern. It is a light car. Well, I won't say light. It's a stock car. It's heavy. It's a good runner. It runs tighter. You know, we were open setup race series, so it provides amazing racing no matter what short track you go to. So today, I'm excited to see it as always. Love that we run it here. It's a great car, Joe.
Let's put on some entertaining races, that is for sure. For tonight, if you're not familiar with the series, well, we're going to have our 10-lap heat race. Now, if we have enough cars, we will have a last chance qualifier, but it looks like, actually, I think we just had enough drivers sign in that we will have one eliminated. I'm looking at the timing and scoring now. So looks like we will have that 15-lap race. And then, of course, the 75-lap feature. Of course, the qualifying that will be happening first will see the cars decide who doesn't have to take part in any of those and automatically is entered into that feature. And then, of course, the stories of the race here, Scott. Like I said, this is a bit of a new track, so I wasn't even sure what to expect on this one.
No, me either. I'm thinking throughout practice and what we've seen, we know that this is a bottom lane dominant track. So a lot of these drivers during the race will be running that bottom, but as we go on in the race, we'll be moving up. But next, we got to think about the Triple Crown Showdown. It's coming up soon. Guys are starting to think about it. You know, obviously they want that championship in the regular season, but if they can't quite quench that, they can quench the championship with a Triple Crown and still win the same fancy belt buckle. We also got to think about track position. This track is hard to pass. It's definitely difficult. As that line moves up, everyone follows that line. So there aren't as many different lines to run. So it will be hard for people to pass. So qualifying is extremely important here. And lastly, of course, can anyone stop Jake Sylvia? 4 wins back-to-back in the last 2 races. He is absolutely dominant. But we have guys like Tyler Mueller, Michael Weissman, Matt Urban, Deegan Smith, all closely behind him in points. I wouldn't call any of them out yet. I wouldn't call Jake Sylvia as running away with this race yet. So we're going to see if anyone can catch up to him in this championship.
And a lot of the previous tracks have been around in iRacing for some years at this stage. This one, having only been introduced in recent seasons, shouldn't see quite as much experience for the drivers. And maybe that'll even things out somewhat. And Dylan Calabro, I believe, is going to be our first one out in the qualifying. Now, if you're not used to how this works, they're going to send them out one by one. They'll get 2 laps to set their best lap out there. And then we will grid them up from there. Obviously, the heat race will take the drivers closer to the bottom. Clabro's going to take the car out, try to heat up the tires a little bit, get it going. They don't have much warm-up. It's just this partial lap, and then it's on the word go.
You'll see him sliding right quick in there, running the high line. He's going to dive down, getting some speed off, maybe heating the tires in his first lap. It's kind of something we see between the drivers. They get 2 laps, and they either choose to go hard both laps, or they'll choose the first lap kind of soft and warm up the tires. As we'll see, he'll dive down into 3 here, running that high line again. He chose the first lap to kind of warm it up, and now we're going to see him really throw all he's got here, Dylan Caballero, here on his second lap.
This track going to be similar to last week in the sense that they've got a bit of progressive banking around here. So bottom line we saw was viable at Irwindale, but it chewed up the tires a little bit. Will we see them work their way up to the high side here after qualifying? Because right now they're going to try and chop to the low side. 17.5 for Dylan is the first marker that everybody else now has to meet. After him, it's going to be Jeremiah Rychecki.
And that's an extremely impressive lap, because in practice today, when we were watching earlier, you know, we saw this qualifying session, this practice session, all of these cars, we had the top 15 were within 1/10 of each other, and the fastest lap in practice was put down by Michael Weissman, and it was a 17.52. So very fast there from Dylan, and now we've got Jeremiah Rychecki out on track.
See what he can put down on the board in this number 78. Can he match up to that 17.555 that Dylan has set for everybody else to try and step up to? He crosses the line. 18.199 looks similar to last time, and that the money lap's going to be lap number 2.
I think that's something that we might see a common trend here, as we'll see him roll into 3. He's going to slide it in real hard here, turning hard off the gas. Not using up too much tire there, a lot away from the wall as I would have expected. He'll go. Let's see, a new lap. I don't think he improved. I think an 18.2 was his fastest there. So probably not the qualifying he wanted there, but he's just going to have to live with it. Probably going to that 10-lap heat race and going to have to bite his butt off.
Then, of course, it's going to be Jake Sylvia, and we've been talking a lot about how he's been dominating, but he's going to be going early, so he's going to have to perform well. I have to imagine it's maybe a little bit easier to know kind of what you have to match than trying to show up as one of the first out here, Scott.
It is definitely more difficult to go early. The good news is for Jake, you know, we had those practice sessions. He was probably paying attention to where other drivers were at, where he stacked up with them in our practice session. So he's got a little bit to go off of, but he definitely would like more as the track is kind of reset. And as we go through this qualifying, the track will put rubber down. So that will definitely change the track. Maybe Sylvia for his setup wants less rubber. Maybe he wanted more. So, but he's got what he's got. Hopefully it works out for him here as he rolls through 4 on his second lap here. He put down an 18.4 in his first, so a 17.61 on his second lap, so just 100th off of Dylan's fast lap there. So definitely a great lap from Jake.
Yeah, so he's going to at least be into second, but we're still waiting to see what else is possible. Pileski is going to be the next one around in the number 93. There you can see the black and red car also weaving as much as he can to try and get those tires heated up as he gets ready to start the first flyer, cutting down out of the exit of turn 4. And there he goes, round on that first lap now, all the way down to the bottom to the white line, through 1 and 2, up to the back stretch at the top of the track, and plunging back down towards 3 and 4. Let's see what kind of time he can set on the first time around. We're seeing low 18s for most of the drivers, 17.7 on his first lap, though.
Let's see if he can improve here in his second lap, coming out of 2, running hard a few feet away from the wall, diving back into 3, trying to rotate the car, slowly getting on the throttle, abusing those tires here on our lap, turns down. Let's see if he can improve a 17.67. So he did improve, but he did not improve in placement, just a few thousandths off of Jake Sylvia there. So another good lap. You know, we talked about in practice, we saw all those drivers close. So I imagine today we'll see a lot of our drivers in that 17.6 range. So as we go through qualifying, we're going to see how these laps truly stack up against the field. But right now, a good time from James Polsky.
Yeah, Alex Hallinar is out in his number 57, currently 157. Let's see what he's got underneath him. In the meantime, let's check in with our provisional pole sitter of Dylan Calabro to see how he feels about his position currently, as trying to pull him down. See if
Get him into our chat.
Yep, it looks like we've got him now. Dylan, you sit on the provisional pole. Nobody's been able to match you among the first few cars. How confident do you feel about your best lap?
To be honest, not really sure. That lap, in my opinion, was pretty much luck. I haven't been running the best, so hopefully it holds up.
So far, it looks like Alex Hallinar was not able to match it, a 17.882. Sylvia's kind of your closest competition. At the very least, you at least hope that you manage to get automatically put into the feature, so you don't have to run the heat or the last chance qualifier.
Yeah, it would make it a lot easier because it would start closer to the front too if I make it through the qualifying number. So hopefully we'll just see how it plans out, and maybe I can keep it at the top of the board.
We were hearing as well that drivers are expecting it's going to be difficult to try and overtake here today with the invert. Is it going to be tough to try and make your way back up to the front, though?
It could. I mean, it all depends on being patient. You know, you got to wait for the right spots. You can't force some spots in because it could ultimately end up in a wreck. I mean, the top side's pretty good. Over here, if somebody gets on your inside, you have a little bit more of a run, so it ultimately just depends if you can do it the right way.
All right. Well, best of luck, Dylan, and we'll see if you manage to hold on to that P1.
Thank you.
Dylan Calabro is going to stay there because 18.1 for Tyler Lugo Vickery is the fastest he's going to go. So there goes his qualifying is now. Jacob Alexander brings out the 251 onto the circuit and starts to get up to speed. Very impressive, Dylan's first lap here. Very first lap that we saw set, Scott, and yet nobody's even been able to get closer than about 500s.
No, I think we'll get someone who can get in there, but it was surprising. Jake Silvio was one of the only drivers I saw break the 17.5s in practice, and he couldn't quite get there. He was just 100th off of that time. So a great lap by Dylan for sure, and we'll see if it's going to hold up. The real question is with that invert, if he'll, like you asked him, if he'll be able to gain that ground again. You know, this track is going to be very abusive on tires today, so we're really going to see how it goes in that aspect, because you're going to have to save and make sure you're not abusing them too early. So Dylan's going to have to make sure that as he goes up, he's not abusing that. As we see Jacob Alexander go as a tie with the 17.55. Can't quite see the hundredths on my sheet, but I think he beat him. So an extremely fast lap by Jacob Alexander there in the 251.
That's 0.003 of a difference. So
wow, there we go.
Yeah, Jacob Alexander, your new pole sitter, Brett McCoy, is the next in the number one machine. He will pull around to start his first flying lap. Finally, we've seen someone be able to match that number 71 machine. Hopefully that'll bring some confidence to the other drivers to try and get close to him as he slides up off of turn 2 up to that outside wall, brings it back down. D-shaped half-mile oval, not something you see as often. And he'll come across at a 17.720 for his first lap. He's going hot on the first one.
Let's see if he can improve that on the second lap here. He's going to dive into 3, get on the gas slowly right here. He's a little high, chase up to the wall. He's going to be right on the wall, bring it down, shortcut that D, and see what he can do. A 17.67, a great lap there by Brett McCoy, a 17.670. So a great lap there, just right behind James Polsky, right now in 5th position, as next we'll see Michael Larch coming out on track.
Yep, so the number 2 brings it around, takes it down off. Not as deep as we saw some drivers. Seems like most of them try to cut down pretty low on the exit of turn 4 to really shoot off the corner and straight line it. But as they exit back onto the back stretch, let's see what he does this time, because that was a warm-up lap the first time, all the way down to the bottom. He's going to take the shortest line he can around through for lap 1, 17.752. That'll put him in just behind McCoy's fastest lap in 6th position. If he can improve, it's not going to take much for him to jump into those top 5. Second lap around, crosses the line, and it is a 17.726. So he will improve, but not enough. He'll stay P6.
Yeah, you know, we're seeing a common trend here, I believe, and we'll keep to see it through as we go through qualifying. It looks like the guys that are running a fast lap on both laps are getting around that 17.7 and 17 high 6 range, which is a great lap, but it's not quite as fast as you want to be. It looks like Jacob Alexander, Jake Sylvia, Dylan Cabrero, they all ran that warm-up lap on the first one, and then on the second lap went their hardest and got down in that low 6s and high 5s range, as we'll see now the 5 of Penn Salter out on track in this second lap.
All right, so brings that number 5 up onto the back stretch, past all the billboards and back down into turns 3 and 4. He'll cross the line. Let's see how quick he's able to be here. 17.737 for him. Starting to see a lot of similarity, consistency in the drivers, but that was his second lap, so that'll be it for him. And then that brings us to Justin Rideout for our next in the number 8.
You know, one thing I always think about, Joe, it's something Dale Earnhardt said this year through the Xfinity Series. You know, he always talked about how it was at the Bristol Motor Speedway. He talked about qualifying is one of the most difficult things out there, and I couldn't agree more. Qualifying is so challenging because when you run qualifying, you're almost never going to run that fast of a lap again in the race, because the race and qualifying is extremely different with your setup and how your mentality is for how you're going to drive. So, you know, when we talk about putting it on the limit on the racetrack, you know, this is the farthest limit these drivers reach, trying to get the absolute most out of their car, as we'll see Justin Rideout come across the line for a 17.73 as he'll roll out of 2 here on his second lap. A great lap there for his first one. We're going to see if he can improve here, rolling down into 3 as he comes to the line. We'll see if he cuts down on that dog leg. No, he'll stay high, and we'll see what he'll put down here if he'll improve. A 17.65, so he did improve well. Provisional in P4 right now, so a great lap from the 8 of Justin Rideout.
An excellent lap, and yeah, I have to agree. I've always thought qualifying is extremely difficult, getting right up to the limit, and also being able to do so on command too. Just having the consistency to be able to nail that lap when asked to do so. Alex Greats is out in his number 9, starts his first flyer, bringing it down all the way to the line there through 1 and 2, as tight as he can go. He certainly looks cool, calm, and collected though from his webcam.
He looks good. I love his webcam. We were talking about it earlier. He's got that blur in the background. It's a good angle. Hopefully it looks as good as his lap, as he'll go in 18.25. So I imagine that was a bit of a warm-up here, and he's really going to throw down a heater right here. So hope this lap looks as good as his camera and as good as that paint scheme. We're seeing them all throughout today. We see some great paint schemes, as we'll see what Alex has put up here. A 17.52, our fastest lap yet, 17.522. So an amazing lap from Alex Greats there. The lap did look as good as his camera and the paint scheme there.
Well, we asked coming in before we came live, what's it going to be like with the new drivers that we have out here? And, well, some of them are fast, apparently. Alex, at his very first go in the series, suddenly puts himself on the top spot, and we're about halfway through the qualifying. That bodes extremely well for him. Ed Papineau, though, here in the number 10, is on his first flying lap already. They're whipping through these, and he brings it down. In fact, he actually touches the white line on the entry, maybe trying to hook that apron a bit to get the car to rotate.
And you definitely want to be careful with that, Joe, because it can definitely speed up your car, as we'll see Ed put down a 17.78. You definitely want to be careful when doing that, because as you can get down on that left rear, you can rotate the rear more and get faster. But if you go down too low, you can get loose and spin out. It's very easy. You got to find that line, as Ed improves just slightly with a 17.75. So good enough for the top 10 right now. We'll see how that holds up through the rest of our qualifying.
Yeah, and Ed slotted into 10th place because of that. Deegan Smith going to be our next driver. We're going to see if we can maybe pull in our new provisional pole sitter, Alex Grates, since he's new on the series, to see if he's got any nerves about having to face off with some of the other drivers that have more experience, especially out in the race itself. Seeing if we can find Alex and drag him in on this one. Looks like we may have found him and are able to call him into the booth here in a second. In the meantime, Deegan Smith with an 18.6 on his first lap. Here we go. We've got Alex with us. Alex, congratulations. Coming in hot here with your first time racing with the series, and you take the fastest lap here partway through qualifying. You feel like you can match that in the race itself?
I feel pretty good about our race setup. I worked a lot in qualifying speed. I knew it would be important. I didn't want to have to go through a heat race. I wanted to lock in through time trials here, but I'm pretty content with our race set. I think I'm going to be pretty good here. Obviously, thanks to Ryan Kuhn, our cam setup shop, for the setup. That's what I based mine off of. You know, without him, I don't think I'd be able to be this fast. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with my run in qual. Hopefully it stays up there.
And Deegan Smith, by the way, as we were talking, managed to put himself into sixth position. Now we've got Evan Leahy out there. These guys have all raced against each other quite a bit. They have all the experience. Do you find that intimidating at all, that they have the familiarity and you're kind of coming in a little blind?
I've ran against, some of the best on the sim, running the Sara Fall Brawl, trying to qualify for the EPI Winter Derby. These guys, it's a strong field, but I've ran against guys with 4 times my I rating. So when I go into a race, I go in expecting everybody to race me the way I race them. So I'm not really scared about the familiarity part, more so just the competition. I mean, looking at Q, we're all pretty close right now, especially when you look at practice times. We were all really close. So I think it's going to be a good race tonight, and I'm just excited to be here.
Well, I think you've represented yourself well, and best of luck when we do get to the race, sir.
Thank you.
Alex Rates, your current pole sitter out there. Up next, the 23 of Dean Gagliano takes it onto the track. Leahy managed 14th place, a little bit farther down the order for Evan, unfortunately. But Dean's already on the loud pedal, brings it around. Car looks a little unsteady, though. Thought I saw a couple snaps and corrections through 1 and 2.
You talked about it, Joe, and it's something I wanted to mention today. I was talking with Kyle Adams before the race, before we got in, and he was talking about just what you're talking about with Alex. We've got a lot of different and new drivers in the field, and that's going to change the game for today's race. Kyle was talking about the guys that have been racing in this series full-time, through almost every week. All the drivers know how they race. They know that they can trust them. As we'll see, Dean will put down here a 17.95, good enough for 13th right now. But Kyle was talking about, a lot of these drivers have built up trust with each other. They know how they can race each other. They know everything about how each other drives. But all these new drivers coming in today throws in a whole new factor for how we're going to go today. So it's going to be interesting to see how all those new drivers will mesh in with our regular field, as now we'll see Kyle out on track in that absolutely beautiful Spartamax paint scheme.
Yeah, number 24. Spartamax, of course, being one of our sponsors here for this series. Make sure and check them out at spartamax.net. Can't thank them enough for their wonderful product. There's lubricant for firearms if you want to check them out and you are a firearms enthusiast. But Kyle Adams is going to bring it down here for the second lap. First one, a 17.7. Not too shabby. Gagliano put it into 14th on his lap when we were watching him. Second time around, 17.6. Kyle's going to jump up onto row 3.
I think he's going to be happy with that. He was talking about earlier how in practice all week he's been top of the boards, and today in practice he just couldn't find exactly what he had last time he was out here in practice. So I think he'll be pretty happy with that. He wants to avoid the heats as much as he can, and I think with that he's probably going to be safe, but I use the word safe very lightly as a loose term.
Air quotes on that one.
Definitely.
Tyler Mueller brings it down through 1 and 2. has yet to set his first lap, but this is going to be his first flyer, and that number is 78. Out of 3 and 4, down the hill and across the timing line. 17.607. Good start to that one. That'll jump him all the way up into the second row. Even if he doesn't improve, that puts him in a very good spot. Makes it likely he won't have to go through those heats and last chance qualifiers. So he comes off of 4 now. It'll be a 17.533. That's the front row. Well, what would be the front row, except for the invert on this one. Regardless, showing some impressive speed.
Tyler Mueller sits second in our points right now. Amazing driver. You know, we've seen him throughout this series. We've seen strong finishes. You know, he got in some trouble last week, but was able to come back from being wrecked with a good finish. I believe it was a top 10. So Tyler Mueller, very strong driver. So glad to see him at the top of the boards. Not surprised, as now we'll see the 27 of Keegan Bush out on track.
All right, the 27 is up and flying now. He's got the car warmed up. So far, I actually have to say, it seems like most of the drivers have a pretty good handling car. Honestly, the only one that I think we saw loose out there is Dean Gagliano's in the 23, as it struggled to find grip off the corner. And they almost saw him slap the wall on the exit of 2 during his qualifying. Bush is very planted out there. No corrections that I can see. And his second lap is a 17.697. That'll put him right about in the middle in 11th.
I think that'll keep him, again, our air quotes, somewhat safe. Not as good of a qualifying as he probably would have wanted, Keegan. You know, in practice, we saw him getting into that 17.6 range, the lower 6s. So probably not exactly what he wanted, but definitely a great setup for the race. You know, he's got a well-planted car. I believe he's going to bring some dominance out there when we go. Keegan Bush is always a dominant and powerful driver when he's in the field. Can really roll through him.
Jared Schell now, the next one out there, and the number 34. Ooh, do like this paint scheme that he's got out there. That bright purple really pops off the hood especially. He'll come across the timing line, and he puts down an 18.1. That one's not going to pop out, unfortunately, as that's only 20th on the track, so he's going to need some improvement from there. Most of the drivers have been managing to get a little bit quicker around on the second lap for this one, so don't stress too much, although he's a little off the apron that time around. Oh, now that's only an 18.0, so he only finds himself into, well, the 18th position.
Well, you know, I was looking at that lap and I saw something different than most of the other drivers. He was running the middle lane. And you know, that line can be fast. We might see that line in the race. We will see it. But for qualifying, that bottom line is the fastest. So that is most likely why he couldn't quite get down a truly fast lap there. So needed to run the bottom, as now we'll see the 35 of Braden Burge running the bottom on his first fast lap.
Indeed, he gets it nice and tucked in, although a little bit off, about half a lane up off the white line through 3 and 4, maybe just a little hot through the corner. 17.638, though, is a pretty good representation. That'll jump him all the way up into 6 on the first time around. As the shiny chrome of the number 35 flashes down the back stretch, he'll swing it into 3 and 4. Car a little loose on the exit, though. He gathers it back up and still goes faster. 17.594.
Still improves. That was a great lap. You know, that was one of the fastest first laps we've seen. Most of those guys, they'll put in a fast lap for the first one we've seen in the 17.7s. He put it down to 17.6 and was able to improve to a 17.59 right now in our top 5. A great lap from Braden Burge, as now we'll see the 39 of Alex Papini out on, I love that last name, Papini. Yeah. As we'll see the 39 now out on track.
It feels like a real racer's name, honestly. Those Italian names.
I was talking about, as I've been watching this series from behind. You know, I love all the names that we've got of all these guys. Such racer names. So I love it. I love it.
And his first time going to be an 18.399. This is honestly the other funny thing is this is our third Alex to qualify. We've got 3 different Alexes racing
I didn't
today.
Even think about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there today.
Good thing we have fun last names to differentiate them, as we'll see Papini coming out of his second lap to see if he can improve. And he did by a lot, a 17.66. 17.55, so an excellent lap, second lap from Alex Papini.
Alex, one of those drivers that comes from the real world racing. A lot of these drivers involved, obviously, with the racing scene out in Illinois, in the Midwest. And we'll see if Michael Weisman can show some skill out here as he starts on his flyer in the number 45 machine as well. The flames, or I guess, I don't know if that's lightning on the front. I was never quite able to figure it out. Hopefully we'll bring him some speed as he'll cut to the line now. And his first lap is going to show a 17.609, good enough for sixth.
You know, I was never quite able to figure out if it was lightning or fire, but what I've always known is I do love his paint scheme, so it does appeal to that effect as we'll see him on his second lap here. Michael Weisman was the fastest in practice, so we'll see if he can go fastest in qualifying. What will it be? It'll be a 17.586, so it's good enough for fifth, not quite the fastest. But with that invert, it might put him around the middle.
Yeah, it should do him well, and we've seen him be very good in the races themselves, so I expect a good starting position, and the decent race pace he often shows will put him in a very comfortable spot come the green flag. Meanwhile, off the turn 4 exit, Matt Urban is your next one in his teal and black number 48, all the way down just a brush of the apron to get the car to rotate. He is certainly aggressive with that corner exit.
I definitely don't think he was thinking through that corner. It was easy if we'll see a shot of his rear bumper at some point, as he's got a nice little slogan there as he goes for a 17.74 on his first lap in the 48. You know, Matt has always had some cool paint schemes throughout this series. Right now he sits fourth in our points as we'll see him rotate the bottom, see if he can improve this time, try to break into the top 10, maybe the top 5. We'll see what he goes. He'll go for a
695, yeah, so that'll put him into 14th, and yeah, the 48 about midway through the fields, and now we're very close to being done with the field. Jake Grout going to be the next one, and I think he will in fact be the last, as Ryan Wilson is not looking like he has shown up today for the race, unfortunately. Grout starting that first flyer. Here we go.
We'll see how it goes here for Grout, the 49. A beautiful look. I gotta say it. I'm gonna say it all night long. These paint schemes are awesome. Guys really coming out to play here. So we'll see him run the top here on his first lap, gather up some speed, really warming it up there. And now we'll see him throw down a flyer right up against the wall as he's gonna dive down into one, wraps the bottom here. He's just a little bit off the bottom, not quite rotating, but oh, a little brush of the wall there from Jake Grout. We'll see if he can gather it up and try to still improve on his time, try to break into the top 15, top 10. We'll see what Jake can do here as he crosses the line.
With the brush of the wall, unfortunately, that means the lap gets deleted, so the 18.2 will have to stand. If you notice that we did not see the number 31 out there, Billy Braun is going to be given an EOL for not following instructions in qualifying, so you will see him towards the back of the field when we get to that heat race, which is starting in just a moment here. Looks like they're ready to grid up, so it's a much larger heat race than what we've seen in recent races. Let's get through them as Brett McCoy is going to be gridded up on the pole out here. It's Matt Urban who starts second next to him, and Keegan Bush will begin in P3. Michael Larch manages fourth today, as Penn Souter will be in the fifth position. Ed Papineau will start P6. Alex Hallinar, seventh today, is then followed by Dean Gagliano to his outside in eighth spot. Billy Braun starts ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is Jared Schell. What about the rest of our field, Scott?
In 11th, we have the 18 of Evan Leahy. 12th, the 241 of Tyler Lugo Vickery. Finally got to say it. I'm glad I did. In the 13th, the 78 of Jeremiah Rychecki. And in 14th, we'll have the 49 of Jake Grout. We'll see if these drivers can improve and break into our feature race.
Certainly going to be a busy one out there in this heat race, and interesting to note as well that we're going to have 6 drivers from this go to the feature, and then of course we'll have that consolation race a little bit later to see who will make it in, because it's going to be only a small number of drivers that are cut out. You do not want to be left standing in this game of musical chairs.
No, you definitely do not. And the battle for those top 6 spots is definitely heated, just to put a term on it. So it will be a hard fight here. We'll see our top 4 established through in the first few laps. Those guys will try to run away with it, but we'll see the battle around 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th position. Those guys will be fighting absolutely as hard as they can. It's a fight to break into that top 6, and I expect to see some well clean racing, as we'll say, we'll hope for, but these guys will be battling it out here to make it to the feature race.
Absolutely will. And looks like they are just about ready to go, waiting to see if we've got anybody that needs to line up. Nope, looks like the pace car is ready to head off and lead them around. They'll get 2 pace laps, and then they'll be released for a very scant 10 laps to finish within the top 6.
Those laps are going to go by quick, so they're going to be fast. As we'll see, the 31 gets a 5-place grid penalty. He'll go to the back for this heat race, so it'll make his time a little bit more difficult. So we'll see him go back to the back. But these drivers, they're going to be weaving right now, warming up those tires. As we saw in practice, it was hard to get them warm, so they're going to be warming up, getting ready. You know, we're going to see a hard fight between these guys up front, with McCoy, Urban, Bush, Larch, Salter trying to really define those top 5 spots. But then again, like I said, in the back, you know, we'll see around this 5th, 6th, 7th position will be probably our hardest fight. I would not be surprised if we see someone give someone maybe an accidental bump, but we're just going to have to see. These guys are going to be driving it as hard as they can because they want to be in that feature race.
There's those air quotes again, accidental bump.
Yeah.
It's, I'm sure it was entirely unintentional.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to.
Meanwhile, the number 1 starting P1 has control of the field. And there's the green flag as Brett McCoy takes off down into turn 1. He gets a pretty good jump over Matt Urban. Will he be able to slot in down to the bottom in front of the number 27 of Bush? No, he's going to get loose. He chases the car up the hill. He keeps it out of the wall, but he loses all kinds of spots.
He's now battling for that 6th position, and he looks like he's going to go down to 7th. He's on the outside, so he's going to be fighting now for that transfer position. He went from 2nd all the way back to now 7th, and now he's being under attack from the other position. Oh, and we got a spinner by Keegan Bush.
Rychecki spun 1 and 2. Oh, we got another one. And it looks like, yeah, you're right. Keegan Bush goes around out of the exit of 2 as well. No caution flag, though. They're going to stay racing. McCoy with a healthy lead out at the front. Ed Papineau is the one currently in the transfer spot. Urban behind him needs to make it up.
He's going to be fighting hard. Now, Evan Leahy is on the outside. Matt Urban is going to try to train swipe him or so, round down the bottom, try to get back to that 6th position and keep moving up so that he gets safe, trying to get around Ed Papineau. As we see Evan Leahy spinning around as he'll go down to the inside.
And they're going to stay green. He was off the racing line. So this has changed it. Urban now in your transfer spot. Billy Braun is going to be in 7th, trying to take that away from him. Papineau, one better now, up into 5th, looking like he is a little bit more comfortable out there. Urban is not going to be too happy about how this race began, though. He's going to have to get those starts sorted out for the next for the feature.
It just looks like he charged in, you know, starting on the outside, he charged in just a little too deep into 1, as now we'll see him get a little loose off of 2, but he'll recover it. That gives Billy Braun just a little bit to kind of catch up there, about a half a second back. But, you know, hopefully he'll be able to make the feature and improve that start. But it looks like he just got a little deep there, as we'll see a battle between the 2 and the 56.
Hallinar trying to hold him off. Hallinar on the 57 on the high side. Michael Larch going to be much quicker there on the bottom and leave him in the dust. Papineau thought about maybe trying to sneak a position. Doesn't need it, though. I don't think it's worth the risk, as we've only got 3 laps to go. In fact, it's now going to be 2 laps to go as the leader's just about to the line.
Transfer spot battle here, as we'll see Matt Urban just holding off Billy Braun, only 2/10 of a second behind, so that lead has closed. As now we'll see Jake Grout is battling Billy Braun as we'll get around him here. There's a bit of a touching. They're touching a little bit. Jake Grout is going to go to the bottom, take that 7th position, but now he has 1 lap to try to get the back of Matt Urban, 4/10 ahead. That's a big gap to push, as now we'll see Billy Braun get him sideways, and that'll be it for Jake.
Yeah, they came a little bit too close there. And meanwhile, Brett McCoy is going to take the heat win here in the number 1. Behind him, it is going to be Matt Urban, who somehow sneaks his way back into the top 6 and manages to be the last driver to transfer automatically to the feature. But he gave himself a bit of a heart attack, I think, with the start of that race. And maybe we'll want to try and work on that setup to be more comfortable at the beginning. That means that it's off to the consolation race now to try and determine who gets in and who parks it for the night. And this will see Billy Braun start on the pole position. He had quite a battle with Grout there at the end. They're going to be starting right next to each other. I'm sure the feelings have gone away, right? Dean Gagliano will start from 3rd, and Jared Schell will be in the 4th position. Tyler Lugo Vickery starts 5th today, followed by Jeremiah Rychecki in a P6 and Keegan Bush in 7th. Evan Leahy will be the last of our 8 drivers that will take to the grid on this one. 8 drivers are going in, 6 drivers go to the feature, 2 are going to have to go sit in the stands.
You know, I've got to say something. Jake Grout, in that first heat race, he went from 14th all the way to 7th. He made up half the field in under 10 laps. So that was an extremely impressive feat. And if he can make the feature, he's definitely someone I might be having an eye out for to have a good finish for the feature. So we'll see if he can hold on to that up here on the first row and keep and make it to the feature.
Tyler Lugo Vickery giving us his webcam here. And Billy Braun, let's not forget, he was sent to the end of the line at the start of that heat.
I did forget about that. Him as well. They both came up through.
So for him to try and nearly make it in really says that there's a lot of speed. And him starting from the pole, oh no, they're going to send him to the back again.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. He's going to have to do it all over. And this time, though, he has 15 laps to try and make it up. More
and
time.
Less people.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Interesting. I wonder what the EOL is for, but we might not know now. But all we know is that he is at the back and he's going to have to come back through the field. But we've seen him do it once. He gained 8 positions. So there's 8 people in this race. So he could still win.
I wouldn't put it against him, but I think it'll depend on what it looks like here at the start. And, we got information. It was because he made contact under caution with another car. So that's why he's been sent to the back. And
gotta be careful when you're weaving.
Yeah. So hopefully he'll take note of that as the green flag is out. And oh my goodness, he almost had a jump start on the outside. He's got to watch out for that. He goes up to the top side, 3 wide and sends it in deep. Is up at the front. Jake Grout is loving the clear air, except he smacks the wall and down to the inside. So does Keegan Bush. And we're going to have a caution right away.
Keegan Bush and Jeremiah Rychecki were battling it out back there in last, and Jeremiah just got a little bit down on the track, and Keegan Bush hit his door, turned him right into the inside wall. 2 different wrecks going on.
And unfortunately for Billy Braun, they did consider that one a jump start, so they have sent him away early. I guess that is a 3 strikes and you're out situation.
Very, very upsetting. He's such a strong driver. Really could have been done something in this feature. Very frustrating for Billy there.
All right, as we come back live. We're actually going to watch the replay of the 27. So this is the start of the race. And he also got some contact from the 31.
We'll see that the 31 pulls to the outside right there, and that's what's considered the jump start. Now we'll see Jeremiah right up here on the top. He squeezes Keegan Bush down, gives him a little shove, and they'll make. Oh, it was actually the 31.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice that. The 31 of Billy Braun. That definitely was the it factor for disqualifying Billy from this race.
They're not taking lightly to drivers who can't play nice with one another. Meanwhile, as we take off back on the green flag, we are down to only 6 drivers. So every single one of these drivers will make it through. For some reason, our 8th driver did not show on this one. On the bottom side, Rychecki is hot on the heels of the 23. In fact, he's managed to get fully to the inside, trying to fight for 3rd position.
And that 8th driver was the 18 at Evan Leahy. Not sure why he did not show up, but we'll see that Jeremiah Rychecki will secure that 3rd position, as we'll see him over Dean Gagliano.
Down to single file now amongst them, although Rychecki's still on the charge. He's kind of looking on Tyler Lugo Vickery as well. Grout, despite hitting the wall on the exit during lap 1, seems to have really collected himself and is starting to run away. A nose to the inside of the 241. Jeremiah clearly looking quick.
The 241 might know now that there are 6 drivers, you know, he's automatically going to be in, and he might be using this last chance qualifier right now to test something out for the race. You know, we see him running that middle line, and we're going to see he's probably not doing that for speed. He might be trying something out. Maybe that line might rubber up during the race. So Lugo Vickery might just be trying something now, test it out for the race, as he knows he's going to make it.
Rychecki up to P2, about a second to make up to catch the leader with 8 laps to go, about halfway through this consolation race. Pressure is off for the drivers if they're paying attention. So now it's all about getting that track position for the feature start as we watch on board, looking at perhaps the only BMW late model.
I've never seen it before, but it is nice. Gotta love that M3 as he's going for the position on Dean Gagliano, while Dean Gagliano is going for position on Tyler Lugo Vickery as they're gonna go 3 wide.
Ooh, a little bit of a blink though from Shell, and that causes hesitation for Lugo Vickery, who drifts up into the outside wall. Meanwhile, continuing on side by side, and Grout's in pit lane.
Grout is in pit lane. I wonder what for.
I don't see any sort of black flag.
He must have had a problem.
Oh, this is bizarre. Rychecki now leads this race. For a race that's only 15 laps, we've had enough to fill a feature.
That's what I'm thinking. But hey, good news for Jake Grout. There are 6 drivers, so he will still make our feature, but that means he believe he will start in the back. So this has been a crazy last chance qualifier. You're right, enough to fill the feature now. As we'll see, Jared Shell has moved up to 2nd with Jake Grout going to the pits, seeing if he can close that 1 second gap to Jeremiah Rychecki with, I believe, 2 to go. It's a big gap.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit too far at this stage. If I'm Jared Shell, I'd say let's consolidate 2nd and not overdrive the car. And we're hearing that Jake may not have filled the gas tank up enough for the race. So I wonder if it was still set for the 10-lapper.
It must have been that. Man, and it's small errors like that. Luckily, it was the last chance qualifier, but something like that happens in the race, you're done. So those little mistakes can add up. Luckily for Jake, it was here in the consolation race, but if that happens in the race, your day is done. So as a driver, you definitely got to think about that and make sure that that's not
the win is on here for Jeremiah Rychecki, who's going to take the consolation race victory over Jared Shell by about 0.7 of a second. And you were talking about, sorry to cut you off there.
Oh, good. I didn't even see it coming to the close.
The other thing about that happening in the consolation race, it's a good thing it happened when all the cars that were eliminated and were out were already out, and he didn't have to worry about not putting enough fuel and getting cut.
Very lucky situation for Jake Grout there. So he can definitely learn from it, and we'll see how he can go now in our feature race.
All right, looks like they are gridded up and on the pole position. It is going to be Kyle Adams with Justin Rideout starting next to him. Jake Sylvia beginning from P3, usually a very quick driver. This regrid could help him quite a bit. Brandon Burge will be in 4th and Michael Weissman in 5th. Then it's Dylan Calabro. His regrid puts him into 6th position with Jacob Alexander in 7th and Tyler Mueller in the 8th spot. Alex Greats winds up P9, and Deegan Smith will round out your top 10.
In 11th, we'll have Alex Papini, the real-life racer. In 12th, we'll have the 93 of James Polsky. In 13th, we'll have Brett McCoy. In 14th, the 157 of Alex Hallinar. In 15th, we'll have Ed. I believe my screens are rotating around. There we go. As he'll see him in P18, Alex Hallinar. And then in P19 will have Ed Papano in 17th, and P18, excuse me, will have the 48 of Matt Urban. In P19 we'll have the 78 of Jeremiah Rychecki, and in 20th we'll have the 34 of Jared Schell.
Dean Gagliano will start from the 21st spot, Keegan Bush 22nd, Tyler Lugo Vickery 23rd, and Jake Grout is back out there. Hopefully he's double checked on how much fuel is in the car and is able to make it to the finish on this one. Second pace lap around, meaning they should be released this time by, and Kyle Adams has that track advantage, but we've seen some mighty fast drivers already tonight. Will there be shuffling, or is track position king today? Waiting patiently for the pace car to release them. Adams now given control as it ducks into pit lane. Looking and waiting for that green flag. There it is. Green flag is out. Stack up on the high side behind the number 8. And look at, oh, we're having some contact.
Dylan Cabrera is around.
Oh, big mess back there.
We are stacked up.
That is Deegan Smith, it looks like. I see Dylan Calabro involved, Jared Schell, and another car down to the inside, Lugo Vickery, unfortunately. So that little stack up caused quite a bit of a mess, and I believe it starts with, I think, Calabro on the 71.
I believe it was. There was a stack up on the outside line. I don't know if he exactly timed his restart out the way he wanted. It was just a little slow there, caused a stack up.
He wasn't the first one that was slow. I think the 8 was the first one that was slow, but he's the first to get hit from behind. And then, yeah, it's just not much many of those drivers could do. 34 making a huge hit into the side of one of his rivals.
No, as we know about this car, it's really easy to get that nose up under that small rear bumper. Easy to lift these cars up, and once those rear tires get off the ground, they're going around for sure.
And we saw that a lot in all the previous races as well. So we go to yellow very quickly. Didn't even get to complete the first corner, honestly, on this race. Let's hope that we can make a few more laps than that when we regroup and send them on their way. Adams still your leader. Weissman has managed to move himself up 2 positions into 3rd before we even take a corner.
Very impressive. Jake Sylvia up into 2nd now. Kyle Adams still sitting on your pole. So with even that short one corner, we saw Weissman take everything of gain he could take out of it. Probably because he was on that inside line, outside stacked up, and he was able to just get a nose ahead to gain that P3 position.
Greats has made up spots pretty quickly there. 2 up to get to 7th. Pileski up to 9th. McCoy up to 10th. Actually, wow, there's some drivers at the back that really gained because of that accident, managed to avoid. Gagliano and Bush have gained 8 positions. Grout is up 8 as well into 16th place. And we know that Jake can be good on his day, so keep an eye out for him. I suspect that if we get some green flag racing, he's going to reach the front pretty quickly.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. You know, we'll see these drivers take what they can get and try to dominate. You know, they're going to be given the cards they're dealt and try to go out and do everything they can. Alex Greats, we saw him gain 2 positions. You know, that was our original pole sitter before we had our grid invert at the top. So again, we talk about these new drivers, and we're going to see what they've got today to put up against this field of guys who have been here all season long. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they can put up against, and I'm really, really interested to watch Alex Greats, some of these other new guys, and see what they can put down out here.
And Rychecki's getting a wave around here, and I believe Papini is also getting a wave around to get back onto the lead lap. So they're going to catch back up to the field, which has already gone double file and getting ready for the restart as they all get checked up here and ready to go. Let's see if we can get some racing underway out here in California. Green flag is out. Another good jump from the number 24 of Kyle Adams to his outside. Sylvia trying to hang on. He's got a clearing down at the bottom if he wants it. The front row starter of the number 8 is going to fall back to 4th, unfortunately. And look at Sylvia already on the attack of Adams.
Sylvia will get a little high there in turn 2, but now trying the crossover in turn 3, but he'll get Jake Sylvia loose. Kyle Adams holds on to it, got in the back, 4 wide. We got Jake Sylvia's a little messed up. The 35 is around. I don't know how they made it through that.
Somehow we are still racing very loose for Brandon Burge on the outside, who I think got the worst of it. He falls down into 11th position. I mentioned Weissman is a good racer. He's already up to the lead.
Wow, it was an amazing save there from Kyle Adams. Oh, and we've got the 8 around. The 8 is around, just as I mentioned him. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, he was coming up and unfortunately maybe just carried a little too much speed off of 2. He got into the side of Kyle, who got the absolute worst of that accident.
Hard contact.
Just plowed the wall. So there's no spare car in this series with that big of a hit. I mean, the best he's probably going to be able to do is come back a few laps down.
Yeah, that is very, very frustrating for Kyle after he just survived that incident with Jake. You know, Jake got in just a little bit hot on that crossover, got them both loose, backed off, you know, got in there. But, man, that is just so frustrating. Nothing you can do as a driver about that. You know, you're running the bottom, some guy on the outside of you, and you just have no idea it's coming. So very frustrating there for Kyle Adams, as we'll get a shot of the replay here.
Look at this 4 wide. Unbelievable.
I couldn't believe they made it through.
Just incredible racing. I thought for sure we're going to have a yellow from that one.
Oh, me too.
But this battle, it's a bit sad to see it wind up out of it, because Kyle is one of the organizers of this league, and then Justin Rideout runs his own league as well. So both of them kind of know the deal on these things. I'm pretty sure the AOL that the 8 got for this incident, he'll put his hand up and accept it, but that's going to be little consolation for Kyle, who goes for a spin cycle.
Right, but you know, there with Rideout, he just got a little loose off the corner, got into Kyle, and Kyle almost saved it, but Alex Grates was right there on the bottom from that 4 wide position, and then made it 3 wide, and he was just there, had a nose on Kyle Adams, and that is what turned him down into the inside wall, and from there, car destroyed. So Kyle will be sitting in the pits for probably a good minute now, but extremely frustrating as a driver.
I gotta say, I gotta give Kyle credit. He's taken it in good humor. He had just painted that car special for this race, and he had typed into the chat, "You scratched my paint." So
I was talking about him with a pre-race. You know, that's a Jeff Gordon throwback scheme, and man, it is absolutely beautiful. I am very much ashamed it's not going to be up near the front now, but you know he's not going to be done with this race. You know, once he gets repaired, he's going to be running as many laps as he can. So we will be able to see just some of that scheme. You know, our production DJ was talking about it. You know, he said, you know, even if you're at the back 17 laps down, we're still going to switch to you, see that paint scheme, and now we might actually have to
do that. Oh boy. So we're riding on board with Jake Sylvia, who finds himself in 5th, but the one that I'm curious about, or 2 that I'm curious about really, is Weissman still in the lead, and starting next to him, look at that, it's Alex Grates, already our fastest driver in qualifying.
Extremely impressive. Not surprised to see him at the front. Surprised to see him so quickly. Definitely helped out with the drivers from up front going down. So the cautions have definitely helped him out here, but I'm not surprised he would have been near the front today at all. So we're going to see what he's got against Michael Weissman, one of our fastest guys in practice. Made his way to the front very quick as well. So I imagine we're going to see a hard, heated battle here for this lead.
Tyler Mueller was the 2nd quickest behind him, and he's only sitting back in 6th, so he could have a good shot at this if he gets tricky. Green flag is out. Ooh, Alex is very hot on the throttle. He's got to be careful he doesn't get a penalty on this restart, and I don't see one, so he's going to stay safe. Meanwhile, at the bottom, Weissman is going to try to fend him off if they stay side to side.
He's going to try to carry as much speed as he can on that bottom, get a good exit, but Alex is going to try to cut him off on that exit, keep him low, as we've got another caution in the rear of the field.
The number 1 got turned from what I could see, and I think that's what started it all. I think the 2 kind of gave him a little bit of a bump, and you talked about it earlier. It was Larch that tipped him. These cars have such a low nose and such a high rear.
It's very easy to get around. That's why you have to play safe. And that's another thing Kyle was talking about. You know, not all these are new drivers, but as we'll see, the 1 just get a little loose there. The 2 had no idea it was coming, no time to check up. But, you know, again, that's another thing. Some of these drivers are so new that some of the drivers that have been around longer just don't know how to trust them yet. And it's incidents like this that don't quite gain that trust. So this race of those new guys will be them trying to fight as hard as they can. But if I was a new guy wanting to race in the series, I definitely want to be showing, hey, you know, I want to race as hard as I can, but I want you to be able to trust me as a driver, that when we're going battling for that lead right on the back bumper of each other, that I'm not going to spin you around. So it's definitely these new drivers trying to gain that trust, but it's very easy to spin around even for one of the most experienced drivers.
And Ed Papineau, I think, has got to be one of the more frustrated drivers from that one, because he checked up for the incident and then also got run into it by Jake Grout. So he got turned around and sent towards the back there. But haven't seen an EOL on that one yet, at least not officially from race control. We'll see if they let us know or give the EOL there in iRacing, because we can see that text as Calabro has been a little bit frustrated over the radio on top of things. Dylan's down in 13th. He's lost 7 positions from the start.
He's had a rough going at it. You know, he's been kind of caught up in some of those incidents. You know, he hasn't quite outright been in a wreck yet, but you know, we've seen a lot of cars get sideways. We've seen 4 wide, absolutely crazy. I can't believe that happened and they made it out of it. But incidents like that have gotten some of these drivers a bit awry and moved them back in the field. So while we've got drivers wrecking out, we've got some drivers that are not quite wrecking, but they're kind of sideways, and it's definitely hurting their position. So right now, if I'm a driver, you know, I've seen these first 20 laps and I've said, oh my goodness, this is, first of all, crazy. Second of all, how can I survive? Because we've seen a lot of these drivers that have gained tons of positions, like Dylan Gagliano, Keegan Bush, and Jake Grout, all 12 and 13 positions from the start. What they've been doing is trying to avoid these wrecks, and it has benefited them like crazy. So if I'm a driver now in the back that has just maybe gotten in one of these incidents, I'm thinking, okay, it's happened. We've got 55 to go. How can I now survive?
I think you're right. I think this is a game of watch out for yourself and make sure to just keep the car whole to the end. You're going to be in a good position by then, but sometimes that's easier said than done. We're only on lap 20 out of 75. There is still more to go, and Weissman has control. Green flag is out. He gets a much better jump over Alex this time. He's going to be happy about that, and I don't think Alex is going to be able to fight him as hard. In fact, he jumps in behind him as we got a 3-wide battle farther back for 5th.
Alex is going to try the crossover. Now he's down on the inside of Michael Weissman. We're going to see if he can hold it. Alex was a little more conservative on that start, was maybe planning the crossover, but also wanted to make sure that he didn't get a penalty. As we see battles going on all over the place, Weissman will retain the lead.
Burge all over the back of the number 2, but Larch gets a good run as well on the number 93 at Pileski. He's going to jump up into 6 here, getting underneath him. Starting to get some green flag laps now under us, but it's still a hot battle in the mid-pack.
Burge is right. They're right on each other's doors, him and Polsky, and he's going to go around him on the inside as we've got a tight, heated pack here as we'll see him take the position. But oh, he's around. Polsky gets into the back of him. I would be surprised if that's not an EOL. That's just some tough racing, and that is frustrating.
Slightly premature yellow on that one, but I don't blame him. I thought it was going to be a wreck too. When you called it, it looked like a big one, and Burge was the one that got kind of turned, but both a great catch and unfortunately had a little help with it. Matt Urban kind of turned him straight.
I thought Burge was going around, but an impressive save. Polsky just got in a little too hot there. They had just come off. Burge had just slid up in front of him as they were battling for the 9th position. So just a little too hot in by James Polsky. Just got right up under the rear end of Braden Burge. As we saw up at the front, Michael Weissman and Alex Grates were battling just before that caution. Alex Grates had just hair on Michael Weissman for the lead, and so now Alex Grates sits at our lead.
Okay, so he timed it right. Sometimes it is all about that little bit of luck of getting the right timing out there, with him just being slightly ahead when it counted. And will this send Weissman back, or has he learned some things, having started from the front, that he can maybe pull a trick on Alex? As Alex just about did that to Michael too. Remember that restart where he was even ahead at the line? Thankfully didn't net him a penalty. But again, I'm massively impressed. I asked Alex if he was intimidated at all with all these drivers that were familiar, and his answer seemed like an extremely confident no, that he's raced against some of the best.
Well, I agree with you, and he's proving it right now. He's made it back from 9th. He is at the top of our field, and he's proving what he said. When in our interview, he was confident for sure. And as we'll see now, we've got a update. Our restarts will be changed to single file because of all these incidents. So single file restarts now. But back to Alex Greats, he's proving what he said. He was confident. He said, I've raced against guys with insane iRating, with insane talent. So he said to credit these guys in the field, all these guys he's racing against today are talented, and he's raced against guys of that talent and nature. So he feels confident that he can come out here and do the best he can. And right now, he's sitting in our lead.
He actually has the 3rd highest I rating of everybody out here. So I think Alex Papini is one of them that is higher than him, and it looks like, well, no surprise, Jake Sylvia's with the other one.
Yes.
Mr. Fast himself.
Jake Grout. So the two Jakes there, just a little bit higher.
Is it Grout? No, it's Papini, I think. Oh, well, okay, you're right. So there's 3 drivers quicker than him.
Yes.
Good catch. I had missed that Grout is just a hair above him at a 44.77 on his I rating. So they're pretty close to one another.
I only caught it because him and Papini are right next to each other for this restart when we get it. As we'll see now, single filed restarts. So definitely a change, but a change by our race control saying, hey, we got to calm it down, get some green going. As we'll see the green flag now for the restart.
Hopefully this will help him out. Oh, big stack up there, and Weissman almost gets turned around, is down to the inside for 3rd place. Jake Sylvia is going to try to pick the pocket of Alexander. Jacob hangs on around the outside, but looking up to Weissman. Sylvia thinks maybe he can take 2nd place. He's not done, though, with Alexander.
Once he can get past Alexander here, he'll have some clean track, be able to run a bit of a faster lap. Alexander is closing off that exit for Jake Sylvia, so it's just slowing him down, allowing Alex and Weissman to gain ahead, as now we'll see Alex clear of Jacob Alexander. He's coming back from that incident earlier with Kyle. He was back down in our top 10 as we've got another wreck. Caution is out.
Urban, I think, going around and still continuing backwards. Is he going to get that J-turn? He's going to try it. No, he's not.
He's just gonna. Oh!
I was gonna say, don't do it back up onto the track.
Going straight for the wall. He goes right through our pace car.
I was gonna say, I thought that was a regular car for a second, and I thought he was gonna go right into him. But I believe that started with Urban, and then a couple other cars got caught up into it. This one, though, he did get help turned around, but the car was loose before that, and I think the number 1 of Brett McCoy also wound up kind of flipped, facing the other direction.
Very frustrating. We're seeing battles all throughout the field, trying to cover everything we can out here, but there's so much going on. We saw Jake Sylvia there battling for that 3rd position. He'll sit in 3rd now, but we've got great battles going out all throughout the field, and that's one thing that we love to see, Joe.
Yep, so here, there's where he gets turned the rest of the way around, and there's McCoy, who, again, was checking up. Oh, and Lugo Vickery almost goes up on his nose there as he also checked up and got hit from behind, it looked like.
I think that was Kyle Adams who might have gotten Lugo Vickery around right there, and then we'll see this. The 17 almost gets hit by the 1 there as he comes back around. So a bit of a scary situation there for Alex Greats.
All right, we are back to underpacing now, which has been unfortunately a common sight for this one. Papini has now been given an end of line for that last one.
I believe he's the one who got Brett McCoy around. Frustrating for McCoy because we just talked about him, about how he'd gained a lot of positions. Looks like he had a poor restart, got him near the mid-pack, and then as we know, in that mid-pack, it just gets crazy. As we've seen, even with these single-file restarts, it's very difficult. These drivers are out here. They're all hungry, maybe even too hungry. I don't even know if that's a phrase. You can never be too hungry as a race car driver, I don't think. But these drivers are absolutely going after it, as we're seeing. It's providing some great racing. I know some of these guys at the front are probably hoping for a little bit more green flag, but I would say it's definitely presenting an interesting and exciting race.
so McCoy was supposed to get a wave around, I thought, but now he's even saying on the radio, it's telling me to go to the back. This is very strange.
He's talking to race control. He should get the wave around there.
All right, so drivers unfortunately starting to experience the stress of this many cautions as well. We tend to see this. The tempers start to flare when you get too many laps pacing behind the pace car. You have the time to stop and think about it. You want to go racing, and they've got an itchy gas foot right now trying to go down to the floor and get themselves underway.
It definitely creates a lot of difficulty for these drivers, you know, not quite sure where they should be. So Brett McCoy was waved around by the pace car, so he'll get that lap back. But definitely some confusing times going on for the drivers, saying, hey, where should I be? Oh, what's going on?
All right, pace car pulling in. Weissman's going to have control. Sylvia's going to be behind, and unfortunately, Alex is out of this race, so we do not have greats in here anymore. Green flag is out. Weissman has control. Mueller's back there in third as well. Watch out for the other driver, second fastest in qualifying. Now the fastest still out there as we look at the back of the field on the restart, and the 93 is ready to roll.
Definitely difficult as he's going around Matt Urban here. He'll grab that position, just barely cutting him off. Matt Urban is going to cross down to the inside, try to get this position back, but I don't think he's going to have it. James Polsey is going to have the run here off the corner, and he's going to hold it.
See a little bit of side-by-side there with the 23s down to the inside of Grout in the number 49, who carries the speed off the corner well. He might actually be able to make that high line work for once tonight. He's fighting them hard, and in front of him you can see still side-by-side between the 27 and the 71 as well.
These guys are fighting hard, both side by side, just trying to grab something. Jay Grout is up 15 positions, now trying to get around D. Gagliano, as we've got the 71 of Dylan Cabrero just getting around Keegan Bush. So some great fighting out here in the mid-pack. Just some contact.
Yeah, slapping the wall. Gagliano and Grout both hit the outside hard, but it looks like they'll be able to keep the car going. Almost looked like a bit of target fixation the way they both did it at the exact same time off the corner. We're staying a little more single file now for the first time in a while, but I think it's about to heat up again because Brandon Burge up at the front of this group is starting to form a bit of a train behind him.
Alex Greats, I believe he's one lap down, but we see him back there behind Alex Papini as we see Alex Papini pulling off now, having an issue. He's on the front stretch. I believe he's timing out. So interesting. A lot of different things going on in this race.
Ooh, this is the 2 fighting for 5th place. Jacob Alexander up to his high side. Jacob is boxed in, though. He wanted to go down low, and the 2 is there in front of him. Brandon Burge leaves him no space. They come down the back stretch behind them, giving watch. Dylan Calabro looking for which place he should throw his hat in.
Michael Larch is just trying to run that bottom, trying to get a faster line on Jacob Alexander, as I believe he'll have it. He'll give him a little bit of a door there. Open up that entry, and he'll bit almost clear right here, and he's clear. Try to run that bottom, as now Jacob Alexander will go to defending that 6th position from Dylan Cabrero.
Ooh, good run off of turn 4 there from Alexander, though. He's not giving it up easily, but I don't think he's going to be able to hang on to this one. Calabro has now reached the bottom side, and as he almost smacks the wall, Jacob Alexander has to get out of the throttle. This allows the 71 to get a nose ahead, but he almost spins, and he does swipe into the side of his competitor. They're going to save the cars, and they keep going.
An extremely impressive save by Dylan Cabrero. That was absolutely amazing, as now he's got Alex Greats on his rear bumper. Alex Greats on the inside of Keegan Bush there. What a great race going on here in our mid-pack.
Yeah, the 9 is 3 laps down, unfortunately. I thought he was out of this race, but no, he just needed a few repairs, then he was able to return. But a win not looking likely unless we get a lot more cautions for him to be waved around. Alexander so loose off the corners, and you can see the damage on the right side of his car.
Very frustrating for Alex Greats, but we know he's strong, so we'll hope he'll be back in future races so we can see him more and see his full potential, as we've got these guys still fighting side by side. Alexander using up a little more tire on that outside, but he is making it work. Around this time, even though we haven't had that many green flag laps, we're going to start seeing that middle lane start to be rubbered up. and drivers will be able to use that lane more and more. So as we go along, Alexander might be able to continue to use that outside lane and maybe even get more speed from the bottom.
I'm glad he's getting a hold of the car now because it looked wicked loose for a little while. We might need to go to the lead, though, as great as this battle is. Into the wall!
Oh!
Just as I say it, and suddenly it all explodes. The 49 backwards on the backstretch, looking like he has pretty bad damage on the car.
Man, I was loving how Jake Grout was going through the field. It was absolutely impressive. Just gets wrapped up there. We saw Jacob Alexander. He was just trying to hold Dylan Cabrero down on the bottom, keep his exit shallow so that he could get more speed, but he just got a little too far on the bottom, nudges his right rear quarter panel, and gets him around. Just very frustrating. Hard racing there for the position. Alex was trying not to give it up here, just squeezes Cabrero's right rear, gets them both in the wall.
Yeah, honestly, it kind of feels like the car behind him, Alexander, maybe pinched him a little low. He was trying to keep him to the bottom, and it backfired on him pretty significantly. 27 of Busch also involved in it. I think the 23 either made it a brilliant escape or got a little bit of a side contact. Yeah, I think he just got the lightest of contact. So Gagliano snuck through it, but not unscathed.
No, very, very difficult when the track is blocked by 3 different cars going sideways. Very difficult when you're going 100 miles per hour out of turn 2 to try to check up. And even when you do check up, sometimes you're going to hit from the rear and spun around, and then you're going to be in the way.
Interesting. It looks like Race Control kind of agrees with my perspective on this one. They gave the EOL to Jacob Alexander being on the outside.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, it just didn't give him room at the bottom, unfortunately, and that kind of started that whole mess. So he'll come back out a lap down, and Calabro finds himself I think also going a lap down. We're going to be talking to Michael Weisman, our leader currently. So let's have a little bit of a chat with the driver up at the front. Michael, you're leading this race. You've got a very hungry Jake Sylvia behind you, a very fast Tyler Mueller, but you've got a lot of cautions, it seems. Can you make it 22 laps?
I think we should be able to make it 25 laps, or how many are left. I have a decent car. It's starting to get a little tight, but a little worried with Jake behind me on my bumper a few times.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that he's probably trying to apply as much pressure as he can behind you. I had said that you're a pretty good racer after your qualifying. Do you feel like being in the thick of the battle is kind of one of your strengths?
I think it is, as long as I keep my head on straight. I know I can make some pretty bold moves which end up backfiring, but so far they've been paying off.
Well, best of luck. Lights are out on the pace car. We'll hope to talk to you in victory lane.
Hopefully. Thanks for having me.
Michael Weisman, your leader, currently in the race in the number 45. Jake Sylvia starts behind him. Tyler Mueller, Brandon Burge. Let's not forget about that 35. Started in this 4th place. Clearly another fast driver. Can he do anything from that 4th position in line, especially with how heavy everybody is fighting? Here we go. Pace car is in. Weisman has control, and he is on it. Green flag is out. He gets a pretty decent start, covers the inside initially, swings back out wide to try and open up the entry into 1.
A lot easier to defend these restarts when you're single file, but Jake Sylvia still on his bumper, still finding a way to create that pressure. And as you're Jake Sylvia there, you're just creating pressure for Michael Weisman, trying to get in his head, trying to say, hey, I am here, I'm not letting you go. And as driver, you want Weisman to make a mistake and capitalize on that mistake as Jake Sylvia, as we'll see a great battle here for the lead going down into 3.
They dive through 3 and 4, definitely getting it down to the white line, just a little bit closer. Sylvia trying to rotate the car, but can't find a way past Weisman quite yet. We jump back to the mid-pack once again. The 27 looking very loose. He was caught up in that last accident, remember, so we don't know if the car is in a horrendous state.
It looks undamaged, at least from mostly the outside. You never know if you have internal issues. Keegan Busch doing an excellent job here, up 14 positions from the restart. As he gets loose off the corner, Ed Papineau's going to try to capitalize on that looseness, go to the bottom. He's going to have the bottom on Keegan Busch, and Keegan's going to try to carry the speed off here into 4, but it looks like he's just going to be tight off the corner, and Ed Papineau's going to carry that speed into the position and take 10th away.
And Grout living up to his namesake, getting in every nook and cranny he can and just making up positions. But he's going to drift up a little bit high as we look at the 23 in the meantime. Gagliano versus Brett McCoy. This is for P6.
Let's remember, Jake was back. He was in our last chance qualifier. So absolutely impressive as Jake McCoy under attack here on the 23 of Dean Gagliano. He's going to try to slide up from Dean. Dean's going to try to make that crossover here as he gets into his rear bumper. He's around. Brett McCoy is around.
And they're staying green with it. They're going to let him try to get turned around in time here. I'm not sure if he's able to. There he go. Whip turns it, and he's on his way. As that was happening, there was an attempt from Jake Sylvia on Weissman. He couldn't make the pass, but he managed to get side by side.
Very, very frustrating there for Brett McCoy as he's going to go a lap down now, fighting hard for the 6th position. Just a mistake from Dean Gagliano gets him around. Very frustrating.
So we come back down the front stretch once again. Look at him try to go wide just to open this one up. He's looking for something to see if he can find the line. He gets the exit off of turn 2.
He's got just an inch.
Is a nose underneath him. That could be all he needs, but we get a caution before he can complete the pass.
The saving grace of Michael Weissman. That is exactly what he needed right there. Jake Sylvia was charging harder than a rampant horse right there.
So sounds like the 93 at Pileski was to blame for that one. Double checking. I don't see him turned around. Busch as well coming into pit lane.
I believe probably the 93, imagine, got into the 27. Yep, that's what happened. 93 just charges in, maybe a little deep. Keegan Busch tries to save it, and the 93 gives him another tap hard into the outside wall of 4.
So here's the bad news. The 27's engine expires here. You can see the smoke start to come from the back of the car. So that's a retirement from the 27. We're way too late in the race for him to be able to repair that one.
And he was having such a good day. Up 15 positions from the start, Joe.
And I got to give credit to Race Control. They're waving Brett McCoy around. He did get a bit of a raw deal on that incident.
I agree. So that's very good. You know, we've got some great organizers. We've got great people working there behind the scenes in this Misfit series. So great of them to give Brett McCoy a little bit of a break there.
See if he can shoot back to the front. Now, if you want to make sure that you're shooting nicely and you want to take care of your best favorite firearm, go to Spartamax.net for your best firearm lubricants. They're a sponsor of this series, and we give our biggest thanks to them for helping bring this one to air. The 24 is back out on track. I have bad news for our director, DJ. He's not 17 laps down. It's only 10.
Well, hey, we've still got a camera on him no matter what. Kyle Adams doing everything he can, you know, excellent. Like we talked about, I absolutely love that paint scheme. Sporting Spartamax, you know, they do a whole ton for us here on this series. And I was thinking about it. I got a shotgun, and I've actually needed lubricant for it, so I might just have to hit up Spartamax. So we love what they do for us. If you are interested in firearms, visit Spartamax.net.
So Weissman continues to be the leader. This time, though, remember earlier in the race, the luck didn't go his way. Alex Greats managed to get by just as the yellow flew. This time, it flew before Sylvia could sneak by him. Will the luck continue to be on his side once we restart? And I think it's going to be 6 to go on the restart if the lights go off here.
Those are going to be an extremely long 6 laps for Michael Weissman, as the lights are going to go off. So I believe we'll have 6 to go as we come to the green. These are going to be an extremely long 6 laps for Michael Weissman. Jake Sylvia is going to be trying everything he has to get into that first position. But right now, I'm also not forgetting about Tyler Mueller as he sits in the third position. If anything happens with Jake Sylvia trying to get across from Michael Weissman and something happens to them, Tyler Mueller is sitting in a wonderful position to take that away from them.
I think he's a bit of a dark horse in this one. He could easily snatch this up, especially if they tangle. And the 45 has control of the field. Green flag is out. Will we get to the finish completely green from here and see the checkered flag as Michael Weissman brings it down in a 1 and 2? Sylvia's not able to get the jump on him, but he's staying close.
He's got a 2/10 back gap, but he's going to charge on, keep that pressure as we've got battles going on in the mid pack. Dean Gagliano under Justin Rideout trying to get this 8th position.
And remember, if we get a caution here, we're going into overtime. 3 green-white checkers available for our drivers, and the 93 is getting in front of our leaders. Lap traffic, suddenly an issue. Is he going to be able to pull out of the way? The 45 goes low to get underneath him, and yes, good job there by the 93.
Luckily, he had a bit of a gap to Sylvia there, so he was okay, but definitely a hot moment there for Michael Weissman. Definitely got a little bit of a different colored pant there, maybe, as we saw that car slide up in front of him, but he's still got a bit of a gap to the 88, but the 88 is charging, giving it everything he's got, as we're gonna have 3 laps to go here.
Oh, the 93 was ordered aside, but he causes a wreck on the backstretch. The 10 of Ed Papineau, unfortunately, finds himself turned around, and we are going to a green-white checkers because of that. Pileski was DQ'd after that latest incident involved in too many messes here today.
That was his 3rd strike. He's caused a lot of incidents today, you know, just trying to run his race. Unfortunately, getting into other drivers, and you can only do that so many times. But as we'll have the replay coming up here soon. But, you know, hard decision for Michael Weissman. He had 2 laps to go coming to the line there, as we see James Polsky getting in the way here, causing a bit of a moment there for Michael Weissman as he'll travel to the back here in the moments of 1 and 2.
Yeah, so he lets the first 2 by, and then race control got on the radio, let him know that they didn't want him involved in the fight. Because look at the 78 still back there. He's fighting for position for a podium or potentially a win. So they wanted him out. And again, he pulls up out to the side. So he's not doing anything wrong here. He's getting out of the way. But then he turns down just a little bit on the 10. I can see why they gave him the black flag and sent him home.
Yeah, Ed Papineau is not happy about that one for sure. You know, it's difficult as a lap car trying to get out of the way. But, you know, you just got to do what you can. You know, you've run your race, but you've got people in the lead lap trying to fight for everything they can, trying to get these points. Some of these guys are fighting for that triple crown. You know, some of those guys, they want to make it into that top 15 in points so that they can be solidified for that triple crown. So different battles going on all over the racetrack. But again, I'm thinking about Michael Weissman with this green-white checkered. He's definitely frustrated at James Polsky for sure, not only for getting in the way of him, but for sending it to yellow because he had 2 to go at the line and had a quote-unquote nice gap from Jake Sylvia. If you can say that.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a little close for my comfort, but maybe he felt pretty good about it. Yeah, that Triple Crown, February 24th, and at one of the newer tracks here on iRacing, Slinger Speedway, 1/4 mile. It is a tiny little beast with some of the steepest banking you've ever seen. And he is certainly going to, this is certainly going to be a fun one when we go there for these drivers competing for, from what we understand, a custom-made belt buckle.
Yes. I have heard about this belt buckle, and it sounds really cool. Of what the few details I know, Kyle Adams is working on it, and it is with their sponsors, and it is going to be really cool. And if you're one of these drivers, I would definitely want it for sure.
All right, Weissman now behind the pace car with the lights off. We restart. Now, if you're not familiar with green-white checkers, they need to complete 2 laps. If on the first lap there is an accident that brings out the yellow, they will try it again. They'll get 3 total tries at doing the green-white checkers. If they get to the white flag, it goes to the finish no matter what happens from there. The race is official. Michael Weissman, though, Coming out of turn 4, he would love to see that white flag. He doesn't want to go through this again. Green flag is out. Oh, he gets a pretty good start over Jake Sylvia, but things get a little stacked up behind them. The number 2 going down to the inside, but doesn't quite make the move.
Weissman doesn't care how. He just wants this race to end right now as he's going to go through 3 and 4. Jake Sylvia is still hot on his tail. We're going to get the 1 to go. We'll see if we'll get the white flag. We'll get the white flag, and this race is official no matter what.
Can he make it to the finish, or is Jake going to find his way past? I don't think he's quite close enough. Doesn't look like a good run off of 2. Weissman has control down the hill through 3 and 4. To the line, Michael Weissman is going to win at Kern Speedway.
What a finish! A great race, hard fought by Michael Weissman and Jake Sylvia. Michael Weissman gets the win. Jake Sylvia follows him up, and Tyler Mueller finishes in 3rd. What a great finish, hard fought race for Michael Weissman, deserving of the win for sure.
It's going to bring it down to victory lane here and burn it down for the fans. That was a great run by the 45, who eventually manages to not hit one wall and then backs it into the other, unfortunately. Now he gets some donuts as he celebrates the win here today. Fantastic stuff from Michael Weissman. That will be a boost in the standings that he needs. We'll come back with a chat with him as well as with the unofficial results in a moment after the break.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Kern Raceway. Our first visit here for the Misfit Touring Series sees Michael Weissman take the win ahead of Jake Sylvia. It was about a tenth of a second apart between them at the line. Tyler Mueller wound up in 3rd, couldn't manage to get his nose in, although he did hang around that P3 for a good chunk of the end of the race. Braden Burge was in 4th as Jake Kraut climbed from 24th at the start to 5th in the race. Incredible job from the 49. Michael Larch was P6, and Brett McCoy wound up in 7th, and it was Justin Rideout in the 8th spot. Dean Gagliano finished P9 today, and 10 is rounded out by Matt Urban. What about the rest of the field here, Scott?
In 11th, we had the 71 of Dylan Colbero. We saw him getting a few incidents, as well as in 12th, our number 10 of Ed Papineau. A lot of difficult things throughout the race. In 13th, we had the 9 of Alex Greats. We saw him running near the front. I believe he had some damage and had to come down and pit. Very frustrating for him. Put up a great race. In 14th, we had the 251 of Jacob Alexander. In 15th, the 93 of Polsky. In 16th, the 24 of Kyle Adams. 17th, our 27 of Keegan Bush. And 18th, Jeremiah Rychecki. 19th, Alex Hallinar. And rounding out your top 20, the 39 of Alex Papini.
So it looks like as the rest of the cars flash past, all DNFs, unfortunately, from here on down. We're going to chat with Michael Weissman for the second time tonight, and we said we hoped we get to have a talk with him in Victory Lane. That turned out to be true, so we're going to try and get him in here in a moment. He seems to have disappeared on us for a bit. So hopefully we can track him down. Obviously, he probably wants to run around and celebrate and hug some family. But we'll see what we can do to try and grab him. Might instead skip over to our third place finisher in the meantime, if Tyler Mueller is around. Instead, since we're having trouble tracking down Michael and seeing if we can talk to Tyler, Tyler is around too, or we have a missing podium in general, it appears, for today's
They're all
event.
spraying champagne, going around, having a great time. You know, we had a great race finish there, Joe. It was absolutely amazing. So these drivers are out celebrating somewhere.
Indeed, I don't blame them. I'd be hyped if I managed to beat a lot of these drivers out there, because clearly there is some great talent. But also, what a great first visit here to Kern, officially Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway now, and the way that this track is put together. Very cool to see newer short tracks, because like I said in the intro, we honestly typically see the sort of mile-and-a-half cookie cutters, as they're called, not these half milers, 5/8 of a mile, things like that.
You know, we talked about it pre-race, Joe, and we thought that this race was going to give us some entertaining racing, but I couldn't imagine the amount of entertainment we were going to get there from Kern County Speedway. So absolutely amazing from Kern Raceway. Great racing today.
Looks like we do have second place ready to talk to us. Jake Sylvia going to come and join to talk to us about that one. He was stuck behind Michael Weissman at the end of the race and tried his hardest to find some way around, but just couldn't get enough of one. Jake, there was a couple times we did manage to see you get side by side, but you couldn't complete the pass. What do you think made the difference that Michael shut you down?
I don't know. I felt really good. I had a great runs out of turn 2. This track is extremely hard to pass. If you really can't get somebody on the start, it makes it a lot more difficult. Congrats to him. I mean, he did exactly what he needed to do. He deserves it more than anybody else out here. He's been fighting hard every single week. He's had a bunch of tough luck, so happy to see somebody like him get it. I'm just happy to be sitting here in P2 and pull some points on some of the guys behind.
Usually you're pretty fast out there, but in qualifying, you only managed to put yourself, I think it was in the 6th or 7th position. Do you have a problem out there, or did the setup just not feel good? What happened?
I don't know. I'm not too good around here, I guess, in qualifying. I definitely felt a lot better in the race. I do wish I had a shot at being able to race with Alex Greitz. He unfortunately had his sim crash, so that is definitely not what I wanted to see. Pretty cool having a teammate come over here and be able to put a fast time like that right off the bat and be pretty quick. I don't know. I feel like I might have had a shot at holding him off. I got put 4 wide pretty early on, got kind of shuffled back a few spots, end of the top 10. So, who knows? It was a good race overall. I had a fun time. These guys, a little rough tonight, but at the end of the day, it's Kern. It's a difficult racetrack and not something that not something anybody's used to.
We saw that 4 wide. It definitely made our jaws drop a little bit, but commiserations, it wasn't a win, but still another podium for the points will do you no harm, sir.
Yeah, no, the points are looking up, so that is definitely a good thing. Keaton's had me on point. He's actually testing up over at Daytona right now, so good luck to him and the rest of his night tonight and into tomorrow. He's got me flying, so I'm just happy to continue on doing what I'm doing. I got guys making my cars look good, and there's keep on adding on logos to this thing, so hopefully we can continue that and hopefully bring home a championship.
That was the number 88, Jake Sylvia, finishing P2 today in the feature race. And now we have finally managed to track down Michael Weissman. Scott Shive has caught up with our winner.
Michael, absolutely amazing. A great win here from Kern Raceway. What was going through your head as those laps were winding down?
I was honestly getting worried about the right front. It was starting to get a little tight in the corners. And Jake, he's always fast every week. See him getting closer and closer after we got the cars wound up for a lap, and he was there. So I was getting a little worried with him.
Definitely nerve-wracking to have him right on your bumper. We saw an issue with the lap down car, James Polsky, there near the end that caused our caution to send us to green, white, checkered. What was going through your head? You were about to take 2 laps to go. What was going through your mind when you knew you were going to have to go to green, white, checkered with Jake Sylvia right behind you?
If that caution didn't come out, I knew the race would have been over. I had to check up so much for James that Jake would have got around. But on the last restart, I knew I just had to time the restart right. And by the time Jake would have got wound up, I would have had enough lead to where I would have won the thing no matter what.
So with this win now, what does this do for you as a driver heading into the future? You know, you're sitting third in our points right now for our championship, and I believe we have 4 or 5 races until that, and then before we get to our three-way races. What are you thinking right now? What does this do for you as a driver heading into that final 5 races for the championship?
Honestly, it feels kind of nice. Because I know I was always top 3, top 5 at best, but now pulling a win off after making some changes of my own, I starting to feel a little confidence building. I can start being up there with the top guys a lot more and actually be able to go out there and win the races.
Well, Michael, you're an amazing driver. You've got an amazing paint scheme. It's awesome to watch you race in these. Before I let you go, anyone you'd like to thank today?
I'd like to thank the few friends that are helping me out: Keegan Bush, Tanner Berge, Matt Urban, Tyler Muller. There's a few others I forgot, but they're helping me to get faster and coaching me on in the last few restarts, and really appreciate them. And also Charlie Bates that does all my paint schemes.
Well, that is absolutely amazing. Glad to have you here, Michael. Go celebrate that win. Thank you for joining us in the booth.
Thanks for having me.
Next, we'll have our 3rd place finisher of Tyler Mueller. Will soon be catching up with my friend Joe.
Indeed, 3rd place here today, kind of stuck behind that battle for the lead. And, you know, we were talking, Tyler, during the race that we figured you could be someone that could snatch this win away if those two tangle. Was that also what was going through your head?
Yeah, I thought I set myself up in a pretty good position in case something happened. I was hoping that they would keep battling and I could catch up, but they were really fast, and I just needed some luck on my side and thought I was going to get it at the end there, but that was a well-deserved win for Mike and a well-deserved second for Jake.
Starting up on the, well, not starting on the front row, but qualifying second fastest, I should say, in today's race, showed you had the speed. We kind of kept an eye on you, and you were definitely there and thereabouts for most of it. In these sorts of races, do you just try your best to at least keep that good position, or are you gung-ho, the kind that wants to try and charge and take that win?
Well, I was fine with 3rd. I was just going to be settled there. Of course, I wanted to win it, and I thought I had a chance, but I wasn't going to do any stupid moves trying to get by people, so I just settled where I was, and I was just going to take what I could get.
Well, it was what you got in the end with that 3rd place, and like I said to Jake, it's not too bad for your points. Of course, when we head off to the Bull Ring over in Nevada, do you see yourself faring well there? That's a tiny little track with its own tricky nature.
Yeah, I love that place. It's one of the few tracks that I get wins at. So.
Well, we'll be watching out for you now that you've earmarked yourself as someone who's quite good at that. So congratulations on a podium and best of luck next week.
Thank you.
That was Tyler Mueller, who finished in 3rd today. Speaking of the Bull Ring, if you didn't hear us just moments ago, January 20th at 4 p.m. Central, or 4 p.m. Eastern, rather, 3 Central, here, that is going to be on Podium Esports. Las Vegas is going to give us a shot to see what short track racing is like over there. It's definitely an interesting D-shaped oval, Scott, but a little bit smaller than this one, and the curve is on the backstretch instead.
It's very interesting. I actually, when I first got to this track, I actually just raced it a ton last week in the iRacing official stuff with the late model stock, and at first I was having trouble finding it out, but this track creates such great racing where that D curve is on the rear. It creates a great open entry for the turn into 3 and tightens up and opens up the exit in turn 1 and 2. So it's a fun track. It's awesome, and I'm excited for us to go there next week. It's going to provide amazing racing like we saw tonight.
Well, I have to say I enjoyed this one. I was saying during the break, this got a little spicy sometimes. We could see we could see and hear some tempers out there, but in the end, we got some great racing and a wonderful victory from Michael. A big thank you to the team today, DJ, Scott, and Dougie. And I'm Joe Peak, of course. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.